Hey, next on the T Nation, thanks for coming back and tuning in to part 2 of this week's show featuring my conversations with Jim Gallagher Jr. and Scott Hamilton, two of the finest people you will find anywhere on the planet. As you probably know, Jim was a wonderful junior player, played his college golf at the University of Tennessee, where he is one of the most decorated players in UT men's golf history. He helped them win their first SEC championship. He would go on to win several titles in his college career. He won 5 times out on the PGA Tour. He's in the Indiana Hall of Fame, the Tennessee Hall of Fame, the Mississippi Hall of Fame. There's a reason why Jim has had so much success, and that is because he is just a wonderful individual that everybody enjoys being around. He is now one of the best broadcasters and analysts in our game. You're going to really enjoy the stories and the perspectives that Jim lends. And then following him again, I had Scott Hamilton on the show a few weeks ago. So much fun with Scott that I wanted to get him right back on the show because he hinted around about a lot of the golf stories that he has, and he does not disappoint. Look, Scott was an Olympic gold medalist back in 1984 for his wonderful skating talents, but on top of that, he is a 10 times better person, and he gets into so many great stories that he has had through the game of golf. So you're really going to enjoy both of these segments. So sit back, relax, let us take your mind off everything else going on in your life for the next hour or so. Before we get started, I want to remind you about our friends over at 2 Under. 2 Under men's performance briefs are the unofficial underwear of the PGA, Ryder Cup, and President's Cup teams, and are sold in over 3,000 golf pro shops and golf specialty retailers nationwide. Ricky Fowler is their global ambassador, and over 50 other PGA, Korn Ferry, and Champions Tour players wear them. Just to mention a few, they are David Toms, Jerry Kelly, Justin Thomas, William McGirt, Scott McCarron, and Chris DeMarco. The Joey Pouch technology provides the ultimate male asset management, delivering maximum comfort from the tee box to the boardroom to the bedroom. Go to 2under.com to check out the bundle specials that offer substantial discounts for being a Next on the Tee listener. That's the number 2, UNDR.com. 2 Under, performance in your pants.
Every January, PGA Tour Superstore pros meet every manufacturer, learn about the latest equipment, log thousands of hours of training, and together hit over 100,000 balls. All so they can get you the perfect fit.
Okay, now back in Next on the Tee with me is Jim Gallagher Jr. Jim has become a wonderful friend over the last several years. He's had a remarkable career. Let me remind you a little bit about it. He's from Johnstown, Pennsylvania, which is just down the road from my hometown of Pittsburgh, but he grew up in Indiana, played his college golf at the University of Tennessee, where he is the most decorated player in volunteer history. He lettered all 4 years from 1980 to 1983. He was named the Volunteers Rookie of the Year in 1980, and he helped them win their first SEC championship that season while tying for 5th place on his own individual play. In 1981, he won the Eastern Kentucky Invitational. He was named All-American in 1982, plus All-SEC in 1980 and 82 as well. But during that 82 season, he won the Indiana Amateur and was named Team MVP. 1983 was a great season for Jim. He repeated at the Indiana Amateur and added wins at the Indiana Open and Wildcat Invitational. He was presented the team's leadership award following the 83 season. He played in the NCAA tournament in 1980, 81, and 82 and helped the Vols to a 6th, 7th, and 21st place finishes. He turned pro in 83 and joined the PGA Tour in 84. Jim won 5 times out there on the PGA Tour. He was a member of the victorious 1993 Ryder Cup and 1994 President's Cup teams. He was inducted into the Indiana Golf Hall of Fame in 1994, the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame in 95, and he joined his wife Sissy as a member of the Mississippi Sports Hall of Fame in 2022. He's now one of the best broadcasters and analysts in our game, and I couldn't be more thrilled that I get to have him back with me again this week here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Jim, thanks for coming back on the show.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Looking forward to being with you tonight.
So, Jim, I want to start. I'm trying to remain as positive as I can, but it's been really hard about what's going on, not just on the PGA Tour, across all the sports. I mean, everything right now to me, Jim, just feels not right. Where we seem every story is about money and how much things cost and how much guys want to get paid and all of those sorts of things. It feels like the focus is in the wrong place. I don't know. How do you feel about what's going on?
I tend to agree with you. We played this game, or at least I did, for the love of it. And that's why we started playing. Of course, as a professional golfer, you're playing for money, and I get all that. But I do think it gets lost when you start paying college kids, and I have no problem with them getting paid. Uh, but it gets to be about the money, and you kind of lose the focus and the love if you're not careful. And that's the part that concerns me. And you wonder, how can they sustain this? I mean, how can they continue
Right.
to have these purses at the way they are? And whether you like live golf or don't, I don't have a problem with it, because if they'd have come to me, when I was in my 30s with 40, $50 million, how could you turn that down? But then again, you could lose yourself in that if you're not careful. I truly did play the game because I loved it. Of course, when you're trying to pay the bills, you're doing it for money. But uh, and I don't. I agree with you. It's throughout the whole sports. It's not just golf. And I think sometimes we lose the fans because of that, because it becomes about the money and not the love. And for me, I'm afraid if I'd have been given all that money, I might have lost that desire to really grind it out when I had to. And I was a better professional than I was at college. I got better and better. And of course, when I had kids and wanted to be home, I stayed home. But I do. I feel like we sometimes get lost in that, and it just amazes me because people would ask, what would you have made had you been playing for this amount of money? And this is before, the last couple of years, I probably would have made 40 or 50 million based on the career I had, which I'm very proud of. But then again, I made more money in my career than Jack Nicklaus. That's crazy when you put it in that perspective. So, uh, yeah, I think we get lost in it. I'm hearing they're paying college golfers money, and they've got agents now. Hey, when you start doing that, you kind of lose yourself if you're not careful. So you got to make sure you're being grounded. One thing my wife always says, just she's so smart. She just says, everybody can play, but can you live the life? And if you can live the life of a professional golfer, traveling, work out, do the things like Scotty Scheffler. I mean, if you can be like that, uh, you got it made. But I do. I hate to see where we are. We talked about it last week, on Golf Central about taking away spots. You saw the Q School for 5 spots and what it meant to these guys. It probably should be 10 spots for that. And nobody's given that, but we lose those stories if we're not careful. We lose the Rudy type story, or the guy that Monday qualifies that has a chance to win. We lose those when we start cutting back fields and start cutting away opportunities. If you want to cut it to 100, okay, I'll buy into that. But why are the signature events? There's very few that have cuts. Why isn't there 100 players in that? If we're talking about bringing the best, so we love to see the best come back together. Hopefully, there's a way of doing that. I don't have the answer. If I did, I'd been the commissioner. But it is, and it is. It gets to be about the money sometimes, and I think we get lost in that. And granted, we play for a living. Man, you could get lost in that and lose yourself if you're not careful.
Yeah, and like I mentioned in your intro, and Tom Patrick and I talked about this early on in the show, I mean, you played for a victorious Ryder Cup team and a President's Cup team. Now players are asking to be paid to go and play on those teams. And I'm guessing that was never a thought that crossed your mind when you had an opportunity to put on the red, white, and blue and go play for your country. And even the European players, I don't believe are asking to get paid to go play in the Ryder Cup, just hours. I don't know. I get paid to go play for your country too. That's another thing that's crazy to me, Jim.
Yeah, when the President's Cup started, there was talk that they were going to send us I think a 1099 for our clothes, and we're going like, whoa, wait a second. And guys, not me. I mean, I was kind of like, hey, I'm representing my country. This is great. But there were some guys who are going like, wait a second, not that they should get paid, but the money that's being generated, let's give it to charity. And I think hopefully that's what the guys were truly asking, that they want some of that money to go to charities. But that's not what came out, from what I understand. And you're right. Hey, to represent the red, white, and blue, I did it for free, and I do it for free again. It was such a proud moment, something that I'll always cherish. And maybe I'm just different, the old school, whatever you want to call it. But it was such an honor to think of a kid that grew up in Indiana, went to the University of Tennessee. I've been to the White House, I've eaten at the White House, and I get to represent my country. I mean, you can't win that on Jeopardy, that's for sure. So, I do. it saddens me to hear that, and I get it because but here's the deal too. I'm not trying to defend the PGA, but you know, they've got to come up with 25 million for their PGA or whatever the purse is. They've got to come up for the senior money, blah blah blah. But when you look at the ticket prices, that's just astounding. It's just because the market calls for it, but I guess it's everywhere. You look at football tickets, look for what people pay
Yeah,
for our entertainment, and it's the average person can't go anymore. That was with NASCAR. The reason they were so popular with everybody is they could afford to go. It didn't become corporate. And I get corporate runs the part of it, and you got to have that. But man, we get to the point where the average person, it's like going to Disney World. They can't afford to go. Uh,
right.
and that's to me, that's sad. I'm not a everybody gets a trophy guy by any means. But yeah, that just really, I would have never. And if they asked me today, would you play for your country? Absolutely, man. What an honor! I'm just telling you, when they play the national anthem, the hair on the back of your neck stands up, and it's just no greater honor. And you think of our military and the people who represent it and protect us, every day, what they do. Uh, it just why wouldn't you do that? America's a great country. Yeah, we have our faults. We have things that we could do better. But all in all, man, what a great place to live. We're both so blessed to live in a country like this where you can have the freedom to play golf for a living and you can do the things you want to do. But you still have to work hard. And I think that gets back to the first question. I mean, man, you got to work hard for it. And there's no guarantees in life, but sometimes we're getting more guarantees than maybe we truly deserve.
Switching gears just a little bit, Jim. Today we learned that the tour is looking to hire a CEO of the PGA Tour Enterprises, the new entity that they set up last year. And that person's going to work alongside Jay Monahan. This comes on the heels of Greg Norman being asked to move aside as the CEO of Live Golf in favor of Scott O'Neill, who was the former CEO of the Philadelphia 76ers. Do you think that, now that Norman might be on the sidelines over on the Live side and Monahan maybe moved a little on the sidelines on the PGA Tour side, is that going to help get a merger done?
I think it's a better chance, honestly. Like I said, it's such a toxic conversation. Hey, and I respect those guys. There's 20, 30 guys out there that play live their flat play. And I miss seeing those guys play at times. But yeah, I think there's a better chance with that. I think there's reasons that Greg had that, when we brought the World Golf Championships, he had that vision, and the tour kind of took that away, in my opinion. I mean, I don't, it's just what I feel like. But I
Yeah.
think there's a better chance with him being to the side, maybe Jay to the side, because it's going to have to happen. It's not healthy for golf. We're a very niche sport. We have a very limited amount of people who watch the sport compared to the NFL and big sports, college football, things like that. But yeah, it's better when these guys are together. If they want to go play the team golf, great. I don't think the guys who left should have easy access back, but if they had exempt status still in existence, then they can come back. I guess the fear with the policy board, the guys are those guys maybe cherry picking and only playing the big events. But uh, yeah, they're missed. There's guys that are missed on that tour, and there's some good players. There's so many great players around the world. But golf was in such a great spot, and it's been fractured. And I agree, but I think maybe with those guys moving more to the side, maybe it has a chance. I don't think it's going to happen in a year or so because I'm sure Congress will get involved with all these things. So it could be a couple years, but it has to. It needs to get back. We've all learned a lot about it in the last 3 or 4 years. When it first came out, I wasn't sure about it. There were some bad things said about the tour from players. That's the biggest problem, I guess, I had is when the players were really kind of dogging the existence of the organization that kind of gave them the platform to have success. Was the tour perfect? Absolutely not. They're not perfect by any means. They could have improved. But sometimes I feel like they react and they're not proactive. And I think that's the biggest thing they got themselves in trouble. And I just don't know how they're going to sustain these purses the way they're doing it. But with the new kind of organization, things are better off. Hopefully for these guys and for the game. It's all about the game. It's about the fans. And I'm lucky to be able to do my job. I hope it does because I enjoy the heck out of being a broadcaster. It's fun for me. I just did the studio last week. I do live golf. I do cover about everything. And I just love doing that. My first passion and love was golf. And I quit early on, I guess, as Tom said, and kind of lost my confidence, lost my way a little bit, but then it all worked out because I was able to spend time with my kids at home, which I would never trade that for $50 zillion to watch my kids grow up, and now I'm getting to watch them raise their kids. And I'm a blessed man. My dad was just sick last week at the hospital. He had a carcinoma on his tongue. He had it removed. He's doing great. So when something like that hits you, he's 87. He's doing fantastic. Life is precious, and all of a sudden the good Lord's going to say He'll wake you up every once in a while. So I know I'm kind of rambling on that, but I just feel so blessed just with that news and just be able to do what I'm doing. I love what I do.
Jim, one more thing with respect to money in the game, and golf seems to pay a higher price to me regarding the perception and money than other sports do. I mean, we just saw Juan Soto sign a contract that's going to pay him over $700 million to go play for the Mets. Shohei Ohtani is making roughly that same amount of money. Quarterbacks in the NFL are making $40, $50, $60 million a year, and that's only going to go up. NBA players are making a crazy amount of money, but negative spotlight seems to shine more brightly on the PGA Tour when there's money being talked about. And I'm curious to get your thought. Is that selective outrage? Does professional golf pay a higher price for all of that in the perception world than other sports? Am I off base on that?
It feels that way, I guess, at times. I think the bottom line is, how do you recoup that kind of money? It's the fans. They're the ones who are going to have to pay the price. Your golf equipment's going to go up. When you start paying these guys, big endorsement deals, it's the cost of the clubs are going to go up. So, yeah, it's the fan. It's the consumer. That's who pays the price for it. But it's insane amount of money in all sports. Because I felt like, yeah, we played it for a living, and you want to be, have a great chance with your family in the future. But I agree with you. It's insane the amount of money, and it keeps building. We keep paying it. They keep paying the numbers. It's like, when is the madness going to stop? And I don't begrudge these guys making it, but enough's enough. How much do you really need?
Indeed. Let's switch gears a little bit. This time of year, back in the day, Jim, used to be what we called silly season. And we had the skins game, we had the senior skins game, we had mixed team events, and we're starting to get a little bit of that back. We just had the Grant Thornton Invitational, which is a wonderful mixed team event. The tour announced last week that the skins game is going to come back next year on the day after Thanksgiving, which I can't wait to watch that. I'm glad to see some of these old things coming back because I thought they were really good for the game and made the game fun. Are you glad to see that we're starting to dust off some of these old ideas and bringing them back?
Yeah, they work. I think the mixed team was great. I think it was better for the LPGA players. They got to showcase just how doggone good they are. They're so good. And I think that was a fun part of it. You saw some personalities come out. Patty T and Jake Knapp. What a great win for them. I thought that was going to be a fun team to watch because of their golf swings and how far they hit it. And lo and behold, they win. You got Titakun, who's a great player. She's the next superstar. And Tom Kim. What a great kind of duo that was. So I think those are good. Skins games are fun. Honestly, for me, I played such a big schedule. I played 30, 35 events. I needed some time off. So this time of year was my time to either stay home, be with the family, do a little duck hunting, do a little deer hunting. That was my kind of time off because I played up until, when we played in the 1st of November. I played that whole time. I played a lot of golf. So I didn't play a lot of silly season and go chase the dollars all over the world. Maybe I should have. Might have been better for my career, but I just felt like I always needed some time off. But it's good to see them back because they're fun. I don't know if you want to have one every single week, but they're fun to have. I think the mixed team it's got a future there. Hopefully, they'll increase a few more players, get some even bigger names to come in there and play. Maybe it becomes an official event if you can squeeze it in somewhere. But I think the guys learned a lot about how good those ladies are, and I think they learn from each other. I think it's so good with that. I love covering college golf because that's still kind of that. They're trying to work their way in, and you get to cover both sides, and you get to see how good these are the up and coming superstars. And now we're seeing them play on both the PGA Tour and the LPGA.
Jim, just a couple more before I let you go. And getting into one Hall of Fame is a monumental achievement over a course of a career. You're in 3, which is a testament to the positive impact that you've had on our game. Do you ever allow yourself to sit back? Maybe you're sitting alone in your office one night looking up at the at the trophy shelf and kind of say, like, wow, what an unbelievable run this has been.
Oh yeah, I pinch myself. I tell you, you know, when I go deer hunting, I sit out there and I see what God's given us, this beautiful world, and I have so much time to just sit there and be free. And I sit back and I think about, wow, I won this, or I played for this, and when your grandkids ask about that, or someone brings it up, like you guys with Tom and Bob talking about things I accomplished. I mean that means a lot because it you sit back and you go like, I can't believe I did that. But then that's what I dreamed about. But it wasn't easy. I mean, I didn't just jump back on tour and make it right away. I got on tour 3 different ways. I got on through tour school my first attempt, missed the next year by a shot. Was the Lady Money winner on what was been the Corn Ferry Tour. That one guy got in, and I did a lot of Monday qualifying. It's the third different time they got in. So I learned a lot along the way. I failed a lot along on the way. If I have any regrets about my career, I guess it would be I probably should have won more. If I'd have known, then what I know now, as we all say, I think I'd have been easier on myself. I was pretty tough on myself. I'd have listened to my wife more and a lot of times like that because I kind of hurt myself, but just being tough on myself. I wanted it so bad, and those expectations. We talked about that. You all talked about that earlier. Uh, those personal expectations can strangle you, let alone the expectations of everybody else. So yeah, I pinch myself a lot when I walk in there. My wife had her class reunion. People see the trophies there, and you're going like, "Wow, that was pretty cool." I've lived a pretty cool life, and it's just like I said, I've been a blessed man.
So as we look ahead to Christmas next week, what's at the top of Jim Gallagher Jr.'s list for Santa?
Well, all my kids are coming home. That's all I need. They're coming home with their kids and get to spend time with my grandkids. And like I said, my dad getting this good report this last week. I don't need anything else. I've got all I want. And when you got your family, to me, that's all that matters. But that's what I want for Christmas.
Jim, before I let you go, remind our listeners, how can they stay up to date with all the great things you're out there doing, whether it's following you on social media or online?
Yeah, I've got a little bit of social media. I'm on X. I've got a kind of a private account, but only One Shot Golf is a podcast I do, and I've been hit or miss with that, but I'm starting to get back into doing that a little bit. Of course, I'm on the Golf Channel. I'll be covering PGA Tour, LPGA, college golf. Be doing some studio work, so I'll be pretty busy. Hopefully next year. I'll be at the American Express in Pebble Beach in January. I know that for sure. In a couple weeks, so. Like I said, I appreciate all the nice words people say. You always wonder, are you doing a good enough job? Are you trying to impact people when you're doing the TV? Are they learning something? So if they're doing that, then I'm doing my job.
Well, and you're doing a hell of a job, my friend. Thank you so much for everything that you have meant to our game, to me in this show, and for all the things that you are out there doing, leaving such a positive impression and a positive vibe on everybody that tunes in or watches you. There's a reason why you're such a fan favorite and why so many people speak great things about you, because as wonderful a player as you were, you're a 10 times better person.
Well, I appreciate it, buddy. And I got a letter from a fan the other day that said that he wanted to play just like me since he was 10 years old. A letter like that means a lot. And your kind words mean a lot as well. Have a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you and the family, Jim. We'll catch up again soon. That is the great Jim Gallagher Jr., folks. It's just a wonderful thing to get to have someone like Jim on the show as frequently as I have. He's like, and I mean it sincerely, he was a great player. No question. Like I said during his intro, most decorated player in the history of the University of Tennessee's men's golf. Went out there, won 5 times out on the PGA Tour. He is one of the all-time great broadcasters and analysts now. But on top of that, if you wrapped all of that together and you mounted it all up, it still pales in comparison to what a great individual he is. And I know that means more to him than all that other stuff put together. Being a great family man and a wonderful husband and a great father and now a great grandfather, those all mean more to Jim than anything else. But the great thing that I have appreciated about him is he comes on here, he shares his opinion, he tells you like it is, and he is a wonderful, positive influence on everybody that he touches. So I can't thank him enough for everything that he has meant to me in the show, and we look forward to catching up with him again, hopefully very early on in the 25 season. Coming up next is one of the great people in the history of planet Earth, and that is 1984 men's figure skating Olympic gold medalist Scott Hamilton. Had Scott on the show a few weeks ago. He was so great I had to get him back. So he's going to join me here in just a moment. Before he does, before Keith joins me, let's talk about our friends over at Squares Golf. And folks, do you sway and you're off balance in your golf swing? You know what? It could be your shoes. A golf shoe needs structure to provide stability and reduce sway. How can you tell if your shoes lack structure and are hurting your game? If you can hold your shoes by the toe and heel and twist it, toss it. Squares was designed for the perfect balance of structure and comfort. Isn't it time you tried Squares? Try the new Speedbolt at squares.com. That's SQAIRZ.com. All right, now back in next on the tee with me is Olympic gold medal figure skater Scott Hamilton. Scott joined me just a few weeks ago, and he's so much fun, and his stories are so positive and infectious that I couldn't wait to get him back on a few weeks later. And the reason we didn't get an opportunity to talk a lot of golf the last time around, so we will certainly focus on that. But as you guys know, when I am putting the final episode or the final, pieces of an episode together for the year, I really put a lot of thought into who do I want to be the last 3 or 4 guests that I leave you with for the year, because now over the next few weeks, we'll all be spending time with family and friends, getting to enjoy the holidays and each other. So I want the last few people to resonate with you. I want it to be stories that are meaningful to you, to me, and that maybe you're sharing with the friends that you're speaking with because they just resonate so much and they make such an impression on you. Well, there's nobody better at that or for that than Scott Hamilton. He has overcome so much in his life, and we talked about all of those things a few weeks ago with his ongoing battle with brain cancer. And if you missed that episode, you missed a lot of great stuff. Please go back and give it a listen. It's on episode 57. So when you listen there, you're going to find Scott's going to make you smile. He's going to make you laugh. You're going to be cheering for him. When you hear those stories, it's just that infectious. Well, tonight we're going to focus on golf, and I can't wait to hear about when it became a part of his life, how it became a part of his life, and all the great people that he's had an opportunity to tee it up with. So it's always a privilege to get to spend some time with Scott, and I couldn't be more honored that I get to do it again this week here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Scott, how are you?
Chris, you are too kind to me. Way too kind.
Not at all.
Oh, you're the nicest man I know. Easily. Yeah.
I appreciate that, but I'm sure that's not true. But I know that I can say it for you. But let's get right into it, because I don't want to miss out on
sure
a time with you. And
it's your show. Let's light this candle.
Rumor has it.
Yeah.
So last time you sort of teed it up at the end, like, look, I've had an opportunity to play some golf with some wonderful people and all of that. And I want to get to those stories. But at the beginning, like, when did you first start playing golf? Who handed a golf club to you for the first time?
I was really interested in starting to play golf. Early. It was, I guess, right after high school. And the couple that came through to sort of save my skating life, my sponsors, they were both golf enthusiasts, and they didn't have any children. And so they sort of brought me in, and it was really amazing just to learn, because I'd never met anybody like them before. My parents were both school teachers. I grew up in a small town. I never met anybody that had an indoor pool before. So I said, I've always wanted to learn how to play golf. And they said, well, let's go in the backyard. And they handed me a 9-iron. And I actually swung it and got it off the ground, which was shocking to me. And I thought, well, that kind of gets you when you connect on a golf swing, especially early, and you see what the ball does, it's kind of like, ooh, I want to do that again and again and again and again and again and again. And so I just sort of, I never really could get into it because I was training and traveling and traveling and training, and I didn't really have access to a golf course. And then I dated a girl for a while whose dad was a really great, respected golfer on the tour, and I always thought, oh, it'd be fun to learn from him, but it never happened. And then after the '84 Olympics, I was just sort of I was living in Denver in the summer, and I decided I want to start learning how to do this. And so I had a dear friend who belonged to a golf club, and he'd take me out there and he'd show me how to do some things. And I just started playing and just sort of like hacking at it and just trying to figure it out. And then I realized that, when I can play, the course is really crowded. And so I had to look around for a second choice, not a second choice, but another choice. And I found this all men's club in Denver called Bear Creek Golf Club, and it's a Nicholas Edsay design, and it was really hard, like really hard. And I just decided I really wanted to learn how to play. So I go out and I hit balls for hours, and then there was a great teacher out there that helped me get things started, and then he left, went to another club, and then the new pro that came in was a guy named Dennis Murray, and Indiana guy, just great player and a great teacher. Oh my goodness, he's a great teacher. And we just struck up a friendship, and we would grab the golf cart dog and then maybe a couple malt beverages, and we'd go out and we'd play just sort of a match, right? And he would give me a half a stroke a hole on a 2-ball scramble, and he would be teaching me the whole time. And he would play his worst shot, and I would get to play my best shot. And so I learned kind of how to how to manipulate the club a little bit, and I learned how to play better. I started to really sort of get it, and then that made me want to learn even more and learn better. And it was just one of those things where I just sort of was really all in, and I had a lot of time in the summers to play, and so I'd play a lot. And the course was so demanding that it just made me I could take my game pretty much anywhere. And then when I survived cancer, I just felt like the Lord was giving me a second chance to kind of do what He wanted me to do instead of what I wanted to do. And so I just sort of got in my car and started to drive, just to kind of clear my head and kind of step away from where I was. And I call it my adventure. And I went down through New Mexico, and I thought, well, I've seen enough beige, so it's time for me to go. So I turned right, and I was headed to Tucson because a really good friend of mine was the general manager at La Paloma Golf Resort. So I figured he could give me a good discount on a room, and I could hang out there for a while, figure out what's next. But on the way in, I spun my car out in the desert dodging an animal, and I got the car completely like mangled in a barbed wire fence. And so I was able to get it to Tucson, but they just basically told me there's no repairing a car when it's been through that. So I had to find a new one. And I just stayed in La Paloma for a while. I love that place, and I was playing a lot. And then my friend Steve Cousins came in, my friend Todd Sand came in, and we just were playing golf and just really just hanging out and just kind of, and this is at the end of my cancer. So I was just really trying to figure out life. And then they found a replacement car for my car, and they said they were going to flatbed it in. And I said, well, where is it? And they said it's in Los Angeles. And I said, well, how much is a Southwest ticket to Los Angeles? And they said $50. And I go, it's better than the $1,000 flatbed. I think I'll just go there. So I went to LA, and this is where things really changed. So I was training in LA. My choreographer lived there, and I had a really good coach, a guy named Gary Visconti, taught there. And so I was kind of working with them both to kind of get my game back, to get my sort of get my skating back up to speed. And I got an invitation to play in the Governor's Council for Physical Fitness golf tournament at Sherwood Country Club. And I only heard about Sherwood. I'd never been out there, and I thought, wow, that's like, it's hard to get on. I mean, even the LA Fires can't even get on the golf course. I mean, they can do anything else they want. Not on Sherwood. Weren't allowed on the course. They come right to the edge, but no further. And so, so I got invited to play in this golf tournament because my manager and his partner managed Wayne Gretzky, and then the other Kevin managed me. And so Mike Burnett and Wayne, sort of invited me out to play in this golf tournament, and I went out and I played in it, and I had a blast. And I was thinking, wow, this is like heaven. And I was talking to the general manager after the tournament was over, and I said, if I had all the money in the world, I would join this place in a heartbeat. And he said, where do you live? And I go, Denver. And he goes, oh, excuse me, I'll be right back. So I go, oh, okay. So he goes, and about 5 minutes later, he comes back with an envelope. And he hands me the envelope. Then he hands me his business card. On the back of the business card was an out-of-state membership fee for Sherwood Country Club. And I looked at it and I said, I can afford that. I can totally afford that. So he goes, welcome to the club. And I was like, are you kidding me? He goes, no, you're in. I go, okay. And so I just started playing.
Wow.
Like my first round was that I played out there was with Wayne Gretzky, Chris Chelios, Peter Berg, and DB Sweeney.
Wow.
And it was so much fun. It was just, we laughed the whole time. And then, I just made friends with another guy named Sterling Ball, who he adopted me as his son, even though he's only like 4 years older than I am. And so he just said, from now on, your life is going to be better than it's ever been. And he had a tournament that he'd play in, that he gave one of his kidneys to his youngest son, and he had a kidney foundation that he was raising money for pediatric nephrology research. And so in that tournament was Bill Murray. I got to know Bill Murray and so many other amazing people like that. You go out to Sherwood and there's pretty much no one that you can think of in the entertainment industry that isn't out there at some point. And I'm just this yahoo from Northwestern Ohio. Like I'd see these people on TV and in the movies and I thought that they weren't real. And then now I'm sitting, across the table from like Sean Connery or
Oh my.
or Jack Nicholson, or it was just one after it's just one after another. It was just unbelievable. Like Joe Pesci was out there a lot, and just all these kind of Hollywood big shots, and it was really I was going through cancer, and I did chemo, and I was spending a lot of time out there, and then once I kind of healed from that, I found a house that I liked, and so I decided to spend more time out there. And it just sort of became where I lived. And it was truly an amazing time because Dennis Murray had given me a foundation. And then I was able to play this course, with people that were really fun to play with. And I, it was just one of those things where I started playing well and I got it down to a 6. And I was just pretty consistent. I was putting, a short game was amazing back then. And I just loved it. And then Target, I was doing a lot of the Christmas campaigns for Target stores. They had me host a golf tournament at Sherwood. And so we did that 3 years. And that was really a blast because I got to know where Target became the sponsor for Target Stars on Ice. And I was doing their Christmas commercial campaigns with Katya Gordeeva and Kurt Browning. And it was just like idyllic. And then I got to meet Tony Thomas because with Target came Target House at St. Jude. And so the tour would support Target House and we'd write him a check every year. And then Tony Thomas and I got to be, Danny Thomas's son, we got to be really good friends and we played a lot of golf together. And it was through Tony that I met my wife. And then my wife and I introduced Tony to his wife. And so it was kind of, this whole thing. And then it was really remarkable because, the golf kind of became my sanctuary and it became, just sort of a great way to balance life, because when I'm touring, I'm in front of thousands of people and it's a lot of expectation. And then when I come back to kind of restore, recharge, refresh, and kind of get ready for the next tour, I'd be on the golf course and I just got to really meet a lot of really fun people and just, just so many stories of, it's just so rich out there. I mean, it was just so, literally, literally, but it was also, I'd be out there and there's Tiger, he'd be out there playing and I got to know him pretty well because we both had spaces at Target House and at St. Jude and never played golf with him, but I got to spend a lot of time with him over the years. And then, it's just, I spent 2 days on a bus with Jack Nicklaus, he and Barbara, and we got to know each other really well. And
2 days on a bus?
Yeah, it was really fun. So I got a picture. We were going through Ohio because Jack's from Ohio and I'm from Ohio. And we were kind of doing some political campaigning. And we got to my hometown and I go, oh, there's a sign because they had a sign home of blah, blah, blah. And so I've got a picture, and it's one of my favorite pictures. I'm standing on the guardrail of the road with my hand like balanced on the sign, and then Jack Nicklaus is standing right next to me. It's like, what in the world just happened? And I really, I got to spend some time with him through when our tour was sponsored by Discover Card. He was part of the I guess the whole Dean Witter group, and I got to play on the Monday round after the Memorial a few times, and it's just just a blast. I got to play at the Hope, and the guys I played with were Alice Cooper and Taylor Hicks from American Idol, and since then, I one of my closest friends, a non-golfer, is Bob Ezrin, and he produces all Alice Cooper stuff. So I get to spend a lot of time with Alice post. But it was really funny. I think we were playing with Mike Weir that day. Might have been Jesper Parnevik. But we were, my wife and my son, who was just really super young at the time, he's now 21. We were coming up on, I think, the 10th hole. The 10th hole, and we just got off the green and we're headed over to the par 3 11 at Lickington Country Club. And I go, oh, Alice, would you mind saying hi to my family? And he goes, oh, I'd love to. So my son's right there, and I go, hey, Aiden, this is Mr. Alice. And he looked at a man named Alice. Okay, I thought he was a little confused, but I go, he writes scary songs. And he looked at Alice Cooper and he said, have you ever written a song about a skunk? Alice goes, no, but that's a very good idea. And so it was hilarious. And just all, the old Crosby tournament in North Carolina, when Catherine took the Crosby name to North Carolina, made it a charity tournament. I played in that probably 6 or 7 years, and they raised millions and millions of dollars for charities. And I made so many good friends there. And we would do an emergency round. And I remember we go next door. There was another course right next door to Bermuda Run. I'm trying to think of the name of it, but they'd have a senior tour event there every year. And so it would be like me and Stedman Graham and Catfish Hunter and what was his name? He was such a character, but it was just a bunch of guys, and we would just go and we'd play the course next door, and we'd play a whole round in the tournament, and then we'd go, oh, let's jump in the car and go next door. And we go next door and we play 9 holes or 18 holes or whatever we could fit in. And it was just really fun to, meet new. I played with Glenn Campbell one time, which was really interesting.
Is that right?
Yeah, it was really fun. But so many, incredible superstars and celebrities. One of my favorite stories was every morning we would have breakfast together. Everybody would show up at the course. We'd have breakfast together. And there's this really nice guy, and he was kind of quiet, but he was super sweet. And you could tell he had a great sense of humor. And it was just, he'd be at breakfast with us every morning. And I go, what a nice guy. I go, I really like this. I want to get to know this guy. So, we'd just talk and have breakfast every morning. And I thought he might have been a sponsor player. I didn't know if he was a celebrity or not, because I didn't recognize him or anything. And then I'm on an airplane one time, and I pick up USA Today, and on the front page of the Life section is a story about this guy I had breakfast with every morning. His name was Vince Gill. And and I go, that's what he does. That's crazy. I had no idea. And so one of the first, when I moved to Nashville, it was funny because everybody's telling me, you got to try out this course. You got to try out this course. You got to play out here because it's really great. I go, no. Where does Vince play? Because I knew what a hardcore golfer he was. And they said, oh, Vince plays at Golf Club in Tennessee. And I go, well, that's where I'm going to join. And they're like, you don't want to look anywhere else? I go, no, I know Vince, and I know Vince takes his golf very seriously. And if that's where he plays, then I don't have to look anywhere else. And so I'm having lunch with a membership coordinator, just to kind of introduce myself and to kind of try to see if I can get into the club. And we just finished lunch, and she said, do you have any other questions? And I said, not that I can think of, but I'm sure I'll be reaching out to you soon. And she goes, and we'll be reaching out to you soon as well. And I said, thank you very much. And then Vince walked up to the table, and I go, hey. He goes, got your clubs? And I go, yep. And he goes, let's go. And so, he showed me around, and I became a member that day, basically, and been out there ever since. And it's really, it's such an amazing equalizer, to be in a, if as me, who's a fan of, a lot of people, and who, have tons of respect for a lot of people, for me to get to play golf, and when you're on the golf course, everything else falls away, your titles, your descriptors, your celebrity, whatever that is, it just sort of falls away. I remember I was in the Crosby one year, and it's the way they set up the Crosby is they have a sponsor player and they get paired with a celebrity, kind of like the old, AT&T or whatever it's called now, American Express, but at Pebble. And so they bring all these celebrities in, and they would put them with a sponsor. And so the other celebrity in my group one day was Dan Quayle. And I'm like, I'm playing with a vice president of the United States. That's something that never should have happened. It's like, how's this? And so I just kind of got, I don't know, it's really weird that, it's just funny how golf brings people together in a really unique way, in a really fun way. And I've gotten to see, I was in a group one time. Remember Anthony Kim?
For sure.
Oh, yeah. So I was in a group with him and my father, Sterling Ball, the guy who adopted me. And Sterling was mentoring Anthony a little bit because he was struggling a little, just with kind of focus and all that stuff. And we're at this hole, and Anthony, hole in one. And I was like, wow, okay, that's pretty cool. I get to see Anthony, hit a hole in one. And so he signs the ball to Sterling and gives it to him as a token of, sort of a special moment. And Sterling goes, I'll treasure this ball always. And he put it on the tee the next hole. It was a big water hole. So it was like, we had a lot of fun. And then I saw my friend Richard Daly, who's an ice dancer who just didn't know how to play golf at all, hit a screaming worm burner, and it went in the hole for a hole in one, which
wow,
it never got 2 inches off the ground, and it was a 150-yard shot. And then my friend Henry Cho, the comedian, last year we were playing on number 8 at Golf Club Tennessee. He lost sight of the ball because it went into the shade, and he goes, I think I hit it too far. So he's looking for his ball over by this rock wall that's behind the green, can't find it. And then he looks down in the hole, and it's sitting in the hole. So it's like, okay, there's my third hole in one. And then about 3 weeks ago, I was with my oldest, dearest friend, and he's always been a great golfer. He just got inducted to the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame, and he's probably my height. Guy's an amazing athlete. And now he's in his 70s, and he likes to shoot his age, so I'm spending as much time with Jay as I possibly can. We've been friends for 38 years, and we played a lot of golf together down at Gator Creek in Sarasota. And we're playing, and he's kind of, a little up and down. And he's kind of making sure that everybody's okay. And he's got his grandson with him, and he's got me and my son, he's just trying to make sure that everybody's set and everything. And he hit this shot, and I thought he pulled it left, and it looked like it was going to bounce left, but it bounced right. And then we lost sight of the ball, and it was like, that went in. And he goes, no, I didn't hit it far enough to go in. I go, no, I didn't. The ball disappeared. And so we walked up, and sitting right there, sitting up against the flag in the hole, and it was like, it's just really fun. How many hole-in-ones is that? And he goes, 11. And I'm like, okay, good for you. And then we went in and sat down, and Paul Azinger is sitting there, inside in the little area. And I go, hey, Jay, he goes, heard you got a hole in one. And he goes, yeah, it's my 11th one. Yeah, and Paul goes, I've had 19. Okay, of course you have, so, but it's, it's just for me, it's just a real, now I've given up on the idea that I'll ever be a 6 again. So I just try to play as well as I can. I've been taking a lot of lessons from a guy named Brian Lackey here in Nashville. And I just needed to start over because everything was it was really getting bad. And as an athlete, I know when technique breaks down, everything breaks down. So I almost went left-handed because I saw Alex McGillney, the NHL player. He was playing right-handed, and he was an 8, and he hated it. So one summer he switched over to left and he became a 4, and he was a lot happier. It was like, well, that'll never be me. But I was so like heartbroken that my game had disintegrated so badly, and I was starting to get kind of those freeze on taking the club back, and I was just, it was just weird. And so I just decided to start over. And so we've been starting over, and I've been, playing a lot better. I'm hitting the ball further. I was playing with Dan Jansen and his wife Karen, who's a golf pro, and they were in Nashville. His daughter lives here, so he's here quite a bit. And I took him out, and he goes, "Hey, you're hitting the ball out further." And it's like, "Oh, getting all puffed up. Thank you very much." It's just so it's fun, and I and the friendships that I forged. I try to get out at least twice a year with Michael W. Smith, and I played a bunch with Toby Mack out here, and Dennis Quaid lives out here now. I just played with him last summer, and just a lot of really fun, just interesting people that a lot of them are famous, and some like a lot of the country music artists are at Golf Club of Tennessee, and they just, man, some of them just hit it a mile. It's just unbelievable, and it's just a fun way to, a lot of charity tournaments. I used to, because anytime I played in a charity tournament, I go up to my team and they look and they go, "We got the figure skater when all these hockey players are here. Why can't we get a guy that can hit the ball 300 yards?" And it's like, all right, okay, I get it. And so that happened enough times where mostly it was for Darius Rucker's tournament. I get an invite as a celebrity, and I'd say, no. I really want to support Darius and his charity, so I'm going to buy a team. And so they go, "Okay, you can do that." And so I've got Danny Briggs, who's PGA player, and I've got Whit Turnbow, who's hits the ball a mile, and then I got Henry Cho on the flat stick, because I've never seen a better putter in my life. And we would win every tournament by we would win every turn. We'd be 22 under on a scramble every single time. And it was just, and so Darius, like the second time in a row that I won it, he comes, we're sitting there getting our little fee prizes or whatever, and he goes, "Did you contribute a shot?" And I said, "Maybe." You'll never know. And then I stopped doing that because it just felt kind of crummy to do that. But I love supporting the charities. I just, just sandbagging a tournament, just, by getting all these like big players, it just felt kind of dumb. And so haven't done it in a while, but it sure is fun watching those guys that can hit the ball a mile. I had one guy named Taylor Irwin, a young guy, and there's this par 4 at Legends, Vanderbilt Legends in Nashville. And you got to hit it about 230 to a lake. And then it's like probably a 50-yard, it's 50 yards to clear the lake, but it's another 100 and something yards to the green. And, so, and it's a very small landing area in front of the green. So it's 2 hard shots. So it's Whit and Danny Briggs and Henry and I, and we're sitting there and we watch Taylor hit this drive, and he hit it like toward the trees on the right. And it was like, oh no. But the sound it made coming off the club face was so unbelievably, like, it was a boom. It wasn't just it was like boom. And I watched this ball and it went straight toward the trees, and then it just rose, and then it drew, and it landed in the landing area in front of the green on the other side of the lake. And Danny and Whit, they just sort of go, "Okay." And they just walked back to the cart. Nobody was going to hit after that. And I go, "You're not going to hit?" And Danny goes, "I've never seen a ball there, ever, ever." So, and it's just, it's just really fun. And just to play with my youngest son. And when we go out to Gator Creek, there's no rules. So my older son, who's training to be a MMA fighter, it's the only place he'll play golf because he can play without shirt, shoes, and gym shorts and sort of do his thing. And that's the only place he'll play. But my son and I play out there with my friend Jay all the time. And I got to figure out a way to join that club. But it's so magnetic. There's gators all around the golf club, and like big, huge gators. And it's just such a great place to have father-son time and be with my oldest, dearest friend. And there's just something about golf that, you know, it's just, it's such a special activity, and it's a special community, and it's a special, it's a never ending pursuit, because I don't know anybody that's ever shot an 18, so it's that. But at the same time, I've heard a lot of your other guests today talking about, is money going to spoil the sport? And I guess as a male figure skater, it's a female dominated industry. And so I could think that if I'm skating at a level and now there's a woman making more money than me, I should be offended, right? Or what, it isn't fair, it isn't this, it isn't that. I always thought, if I'm paying my bills and if I'm doing okay, then I don't really care what somebody else makes. But for the fan, when all of a sudden now it costs for a day ticket, a couple $1,000, or like they're talking about, just the field seats at Yankee games. And, my son and I want to go to the UFC fight in Los Angeles, but the tickets are like $3,800. And it's like, how can anybody afford this? How can anybody, like, how do they fill an arena packed out, sold out every single time with ticket prices that high? I just don't understand it. I just, because I look at that and I go, I'd rather just watch it on TV. I'll pay the $87 pay-per-view, but
Right.
we really want to go. So I don't know. We're trying to figure out a way to, get some lower price tickets. But it's like, when a sport leads with greed, I don't know. I don't think that's what it's for. I think it's meant to be entertainment, and it's meant to be role modeling. It's meant to be, something that, will inspire a community to get behind a team, or it'll, like an individual sport, will inspire somebody to rise above their circumstance. And there's so many great things about sports that are more than money. And, all the NIL stuff that, you guys talked about today, I don't necessarily think that it's fair that NCAA football players can have their cake and eat it too, when professional athletes aren't allowed to do that.
Mhm.
The NIL thing and the transfer portal.
Yeah.
I think NIL, hey, whatever, have at it. Let these kids make some money. That's great. Turn the NCAA football into a D League, whatever. That's fine. But you've got to protect the university, right?
Yeah.
You've got to say, hey, if this player leaves, that you've got to get compensation. You just, and whether it's other players or whatever it is, there needs to be some sort of structure done where players just can't go to a different team every year.
Yeah.
And I'm all for opportunity. I'm all for it, but I think there's got to be some level of structure, because no organization, whether it be in business or sports or academia, nothing can survive in chaos. And I feel like we're in a super chaotic situation right now, and it just doesn't feel fair for the coaches that they go out and they recruit and they spend months away from their families to recruit this player, and the player stays for a few months and then leaves to another team. It just doesn't seem right. It doesn't sit well with me. So I think if they're going to have NIL and they're going to have a transfer portal, there has to be some restrictions on the transfer thing,
Yeah.
more than anything else. And I'm
I think you're
hoping
right.
that, yeah, well, again, it just seems fair, to the institution, to the coaches, to the teams, to the staff, for all the work that went into developing that player and to bringing them into that organization, and for them to just kind of go, up, I'm out. I think there needs to be some level of I don't know. I don't know how it would work in a situation like that, but there's got to be something. Like
Yeah.
if my quarterback, even though he's second string and he wants to start at your university, if he wants to leave and go there, then there's that there's that DB that I really like. You're gonna have to trade him.
Trade.
So I don't know. I don't know how it would work, but it just feels like the playing field has been tipped and it's not level anymore. And I think it needs to be leveled just to make it fair for everybody involved. Again, I don't care how much somebody makes. I think $750 million, really? Okay. And last I checked, he's not a perfect player. It's like there are some chinks in the armor there. Well, that's okay too. But it's just getting back to golf. Just I don't think monopolies are good, but I also don't think having warring tours are good either. I don't even know where I'd start on all that stuff, but it Live Tour is definitely a frat house compared to PGA Tour, and it looks like fun for the fans, and everybody's yelling and screaming and rock and roll and let's have some fun and let's do, let's have all different games going on within the game. It's fun to watch, and we've got an event here at the Grove in Nashville that went really well last summer. I think they're coming back for a few more years, but if there's competition, then I think that people have to get better, but if there's no competition, then I think they can behave badly,
Yes.
So
Yep.
I don't mind a balance, whatever it looks like. And I do think competition is really healthy for everyone. I think everyone needs to find some way, whether it's golf or pinochle or whatever, you got to find a way. And it's like Barry Trotz and his best friend, they play cribbage every day, just over lunch. And it's like, yeah, I think competition is good, it's really good. And I think it makes us, somehow stronger and more resilient and deeper and better. But, if we get into a situation where it's all monopoly up top of monopoly, then I think, people it brings out something different in your character when you own everything and you don't have to share it.
Yeah, agreed.
Yes, the emperor is wearing no clothes.
All right. So, Scott, a couple quick questions before I let you go.
Yeah.
Now, you told the story. You've witnessed 4 hole-in-ones.
Yeah.
Have you made one?
No, I've been close.
Yeah.
I've been inches. In fact, there was one we were playing in my friend Sterling Ball's tournament, and Scott Simpson. There was a par 3. It was about 190 yards, and it was sort of like there was a lake on the right, and the wind was blowing left to right. And I told my team, I go, whatever you do, don't go for the flag. It's a sucker pin. I'm telling you, do not go for the flag. The wind's blowing, it'll blow it right into the lake. We just need to get a par and get out of here. And so it was 190 yards. I think I had a 5-wood. And so I was just going to put a 5-wood in the middle of the green. Let's just 2-putt and get out of here. And I hit this thing, and I hit it with a little bit of a fade. And I'm like, oh no. And then the wind took it. And I'm like, oh no. It must have rolled over the edge of the hole. I was about 6 inches from the hole, and I looked, and the closest to the pin was like 22 inches from the hole, and that was Scott Simpson. And the prize on that close to the pin was a Sub-Zero wine cooler, and he really wanted it. I should have given it to him, but I'm too greedy for that. And so I had him sign the closest to the pin card. And he just said, to Scott, I'm coming after you next time. But I've been inches away, and I've rolled over before, but I've never one has landed in the hole. And so I'll keep trying.
Same.
But it's you talk to guys like John Brody. You remember John Brody?
For sure.
Oh man, he was kind of one of
the heck of a player.
Oh, he was amazing. And I was sitting with him at a tournament one time, and we were talking about hole-in-ones. Like, have you ever had a hole-in-one? And I don't remember the exact number, but I think he said he had like 24 hole-in-ones.
Oh my goodness! And
it's something ridiculous, right? I'm probably exaggerating, because I tend to do that because I'm a skater. You have to exaggerate everything. But no, he had like this enormous amount of hole-in-ones, and I go, that is incredible. He goes, what's more incredible? I go, what? And he goes, I've had 12 double eagles.
Oh my God. No
Like, no,
way.
something like that it's even more ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so like he was an absolute incredible guy. And I got to, spend a lot of time with him, and he had a stroke, which debilitated him in a big way. But just being in that man's company was just unbelievable. Just what a guy he was. He was a guy's guy. he just pounded the ball. But yeah, and the last story. So my friend Jay that I told you about that lives down in Florida, my oldest, dearest friend that got the hole in one. Well, I would go out to Fort Wayne, Indiana to play in a golf tournament out there with him. I got there about 3 or 4 summers. And he said they're doing a Nike Tour event out here this year. And so we all had to draw for our player, and I got us a great player. And I go, really? And I go, what's his name? He goes, oh, you never heard of him. I go, okay. And so we're out there, and it's kind of raining. It's not a good day for golf. It's raining. And this guy, he overswung so bad, and he hit the ball further than I've ever seen anybody hit the ball. And it almost hurt me to watch him swing. So I kind of, every now and then I turn away because I didn't want to watch it because it just hurt my back. And he hit it over every par 5 and 2 in a driving rain. And he was smoking cigarettes the whole time. And it was like, that's incredible. That guy was unbelievable. I never seen anybody hit the ball that far. So later that summer, PGA's at Whistling Straits. And this guy named John Daly, who was my partner in Fort Wayne, Indiana, wins the PGA as a 9th alternate. It was just like, are you kidding me? It was just like I got to play with John Daly before he was John Daly.
Wow.
Yeah, that was unbelievable. That was so funny. But just watching this guy hit the ball, and he was so quiet, and he was so humble, and he would just smoke a lot. But it was just one of those things where, it just felt like one of those Forrest Gump things. That now I'm watching TV, and there's this guy that comes out of nowhere to win the PGA, and then he's won 2 other majors after that. Just incredible, just the stuff that God has given me over the years, to these memories, and so many of them are on the golf course, because it's just such a unique activity. It's a sport, it's a game, it's a social activity, it's competition, it's you versus the course. I mean, there's so many things, and you can play the same course 2,000 times, and it'll play different every single time.
Right.
Yeah, it's an amazing sport, and I pray the industry, they just keep it moving in the right direction, because skating lost its way. It used to be really popular, and it's not so much anymore. It's not like it was, right?
Yeah.
And I'm praying that, other sports will look at, sort of decisions that were made that, kind of uprooted the popularity of, an iconic sport like skating. We're hoping to get it back. I'm really I'm always the optimistic guy, but when you look at the business of sports, sometimes it can take the sport away from the fan, and when they do, it's hard to get them back. It really is.
Yeah, 100%. And I talked to Ross Greenberg. I don't know if you know Ross.
Oh, I know Ross.
Yes.
I know Ross well. He was at HBO when we used to do like skating specials.
Yeah, I just had a conversation with him a couple of days ago, and I'm going to add that as a podcast. But he talked in great length about how that's what happened to boxing. Boxing lost its way, and when you look at a lot of the pay-per-views and things of that nature, that it was so expensive, and it really limited the number of people that could watch, and that's really became the end of boxing, because it limited its appeal, and it shows to so few people that eventually it choked itself out. So yeah, so you're right.
And now you've got UFC, which talk about choking itself out. My goodness, that's incredible.
Yeah.
It's just that industry is just blowing up, and both my birth kids, my oldest is training MMA. He's gonna have his first MMA pro fight this summer, and then my other son is doing jiu-jitsu just for fun. And it's really amazing to see that industry, how it's grown. It's the participation in these jiu-jitsu gyms are just really growing and growing and growing and growing. It's really remarkable. But again, price of tickets for those events, man, I hope
Yeah.
they find a way to bring those down a little bit so,
Right.
retired old broken down athletes like me can afford to take their kids to a game, to a match or,
Exactly.
to a card. Yeah.
Same here.
Good.
Scott, before I let you go, you have a wonderful foundation, scottcares.org, that helps support cancer research. I'm a monthly contributor to your wonderful charity. Talk about the great work you're doing there.
Oh man, it is, it's really remarkable that, when I lost my mom to cancer 47 years ago, I decided I needed to be a fundraiser. And so I would raise money doing ice shows and little exhibitions, things like that. And did that for, a long time. And then I was diagnosed 20 years after I lost her. I was diagnosed with cancer. And then I knew what it felt like to go through it. So I became more like an activist. And I really wanted to solve a lot of the gaping holes. A lot of that every patient's going in sort of blind. They don't know what to do. They're just sort of, how sick am I going to be? How do I handle this? How do I handle that? And it's sort of like, and so I said, no, we need to fix this. So we created CARES, the Cancer Alliance, which is the A is big, the Alliance for Research, Education, and Survivorship. That's CARES, it's an acronym. And so we did the education and the survivorship programs where I did chemocare.com. I raised money for that to create a website where you could learn everything you needed to know about chemotherapy in 8th grade English and Spanish. And that's been an amazing home run. It's how it's administered. Every single drug's listed and explains how they work, and then all the side effects that are associated with that drug. There's a side effects section that teaches you how to manage the side effects. So it's saving oncologists like months of a year just explaining, everything to a patient, and they can get that information, they can print it out, they can do anything with that information and see it when they're ready to see it and do all those things, right? So then I didn't know how well I was doing. I didn't really know what to expect. And nobody could tell me because nobody'd been through it. So we created a mentorship program called the Fourth Angel. Now, ChemoCare and the Fourth Angel are both at Cleveland Clinic still, because that's where I started CARES, and they're both thriving. ChemoCare it's everywhere. And then Fourth Angel Mentoring Program, we pair newly diagnosed patients with survivors, and we also pair caregivers and pediatric caregivers. So it's really phenomenal program that's check, and now we just do research. And we're not just doing research for research sake. We're really trying to elevate immunotherapy and targeted therapies as the norm instead of, sort of the exception, right? So we know that our bodies created the cancer. How do we teach our bodies how to destroy the cancer, right? And so with an immune response to all we need to do is just teach our T cells and our immune system how to recognize that cell that doesn't belong there, destroy it, discard it. Because right now, cancer tricks the body into, taking resources and take away its waste and everything else. It's like cancer is allowed to thrive in our bodies. And if we can teach our bodies how to recognize and destroy it like it does all the other mutant, dead, or broken cells that are in our bodies, then we've won the game, right? So all we do is fund immunotherapy research. And it was really wild that on the 40th anniversary night of my Olympic gold medal, I'm with Brian Orser, my silver medalist, and Joe Sabovchik, my bronze medalist. And I was able to announce on that night that a research program we did in honor of my mom for the cancer that killed her, of which she had no chance to survive. We did an immunotherapy study that was going into clinical trial to honor her. And it's just like that was the most remarkable moment, because it's 47 years validation. Like Noah lasted 100 years, right, before he got his first drop of rain. But, for 47 years, I've been trying to honor my mom in every way that I can and, raise money and fund research and help cancer patients. And so scottcares.org is the website. And we're, it's funny because there's not many cancer foundations that are named after a living person, so it's sort of different, the whole negotiation, the whole environment is, I still got air in my lungs, and I'm going to shout from the rooftops that we can do this together, and we can change cancer forever and for the better. But I can't do it by myself,
Yeah.
If I were a female skater, or if I'm from Canada, probably, but I'm neither of those. So, we gotta build an alliance, and we're very, I don't believe in silos. So we're very interactive. We're very, we love collaboration. And so we really try to find ways of helping fund the right research, whether another organization needs help or whether we need help, we'll go to other organizations. And we just know that we're better together. So, anybody that wants to come join us, we have this really cool campaign called the 1984 Fund. And it's basically $19.84 a month. And you can change the world forever just by doing that. And it's really remarkable as we start collecting more 1984 members. We're very small. We have only 4 employees, but 5 employees, but I'm a volunteer. I'll always be a volunteer, but we have an army of volunteers, right? And so, and a very good board. So we're really trying to be out there, really turning nickels into manhole covers, and collaborating with the right people and making it all happen. And so I would really, love your audience to come alongside us and just, join the 1984 campaign.
100%.
And it really does make an impact. I always, if I wrote a country song, it would be a drop in the bucket is more than what was there before. That's all I would say. But, it's amazing what a little can do. A little can do a lot. So, I have a friend that I used to sit next to at the Predator games. For his $19.84 a month was $200 a month. He didn't care. Just like, I'm going to help you out, brother. And so, we Danny Thomas built St. Jude $20 at a time.
Right.
And so miracles can happen. And we really want to honor those that have really suffered an unspeakable loss, because the more I learn about cancer, the more I understand it being a solvable problem. It's
there you
a
go.
solvable problem. So let's just do this. The government, they can't do it. I mean, I think they have the capacity and the funds to do it. It's just everybody's got their hand out, and there's, just the nature of it. You're way better off working with a private foundation that is accountable. You really are. We're audited every year. We have to explain everything. We do a lot of events around the country called Skate to Eliminate Cancer, but it's almost better that private foundations do this, and centers of excellence, because the government means well. They really do. They just, it's too complicated. So organizations like us and Stand Up to Cancer and the V Foundation, and those types of organizations are held accountable, and they have to do the right thing. And we've always done everything we possibly can to do the best right thing, and to advance cancer research. And my name's on the organization, so I want to make sure it works well and it represents my value system. So that's what we do. So join us. Join us. Please.
Indeed.
Please join us.
Scott, before I let you go, let our listeners know, how can they stay up to date with all the great things that you're out there doing, whether it's obviously through the foundation, but how else can they follow you online and on social media?
Well, scotthamilton.com. We're revamping everything right now. Starting to put out a little more. I'm starting to try to do more encouragement content on social media. So it's Scott Hamilton 84, Instagram. I just opened a TikTok, and I'm on X. So I'm just posting stuff just to encourage people. Today I talked about survivor's guilt. I don't know when that one's going to go up, but it's just encouragement. It's meant to be encouragement. It's not meant to be anything more than, I'm not judging, shaming, anything else. It's just, I'm out there to say, hey, I've lived these experiences, and I just want to share in the hopes that will bless you in some way, shape, or form. So that's kind of what we're doing now. So yeah, Scott Hamilton 84 on all the social media channels, and And yeah, I just really feel like we're able to step into a period of next optimism, and
That's what you're
unity.
all about.
Yeah, I mean it's all about optimism, unity, community, making the world a better, healthier place. And I'm trying to do my part in every way I possibly can. And but I can't do it by myself. So I'm hoping people come alongside. And if any of your, big golf pro guys want to, host a golf tournament benefiting CARES, I would not say no. I can tell you that. I would not say no. I would definitely, there would be a yes in there for sure.
Well,
That
we'll
would be
try to
fun.
make that happen for
Yeah,
sure.
that'd be great. That'd be
Yes,
amazing.
it would.
Yeah.
God, I so appreciate you, my friend. You're just one of the all-time great
Thanks,
people
Chris.
in the history of this planet. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
you're so good to me. You're so kind, and fairways and greens, my friend. And
Indeed.
one putt. Let's just one putt. Let's just
There
make
you
them
go.
all one putts. And I hope you have a great new year. And I'll be looking forward to talking to you in 25.
Same.
And God bless you. And please stay healthy and safe. And look forward to our next conversation.
So do I. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year to you and your family. I hope we get this privilege again of spending some more time with you very early on in 25.
I hope so. God bless you, Chris.
Take care, Scott. All the best to you and your family. We'll catch up soon.
Yeah.
Folks, that is the great Scott Hamilton. They just, and I'm sincere when I say it, they just don't make people any better than that guy. ScottHamilton.com is where you can find him online. That's ScottHamilton84 is where you can find him on social media. ScottCares.org is his foundation. At $19.84 a month, like he said, people have built empires on $20 a month, and that's what we need to do here in order to get to the places that we need to go to cure cancer. Scott has battled it for essentially his whole life. My brother-in-law is going through it currently. I'm sure we've all been touched in some way, shape, or form by someone in our lives, perhaps ourselves, that have gone through and battled cancer. We've got to come together. Like Scott says, he can't do it on his own, but he can do it with all of us. And that's what we've got to do. We've got to chip in. And whether it's giving our time, giving our funds, giving of ourselves some way, shape, or form, let's all get together and let's end this thing. It's way past due. We've got to end cancer in our lifetimes. I think that is the thing that we go back and think about all of the great speeches and the John F. Kennedy speech about putting a man on the moon and all of those things. What is the great thing that we could all come together to do? And that would benefit everybody. That would be to end cancer. So let's do it. $19.84 at the time. Please go out to scottcares.org and sign up to be a monthly contributor. Hopefully we get the privilege of catching up again with Scott very soon. His stories are just off the charts good. And that's why I wanted to get him back on the show and start listen to some of those great golf stories because they're outstanding, just like Scott is. So we'll do that again in early 2025. I will certainly be knocking on his door again soon. All right, my friends, it is time for me to put a bow on this edition of Next on the Tee. I want to send out my sincere thanks again to Tom Patrick, Dr. Bob Winters, Jim Gallagher Jr., and Scott Hamilton for joining me this week. Like I mentioned just a little bit ago, coming up is going to be a special edition of the show where I got to spend some time with the former president of HBO Sports and one of the all-time great documentary producers and storytellers, Ross Greenberg. He's got his own production company now, Ross Greenberg Productions, of course. One of the great, wonderful storytellers that has ever been in the history of the documentary and movie business. He is a wonderful friend of the show. I'm excited for him to share more of the stories that he has put together over time. We certainly delve hard into the movie Miracle. You guys know how much the 1980 U.S. hockey team means to me. We talk an awful lot about that because it was his production company that did that movie. He's got another wonderful one that's going to be probably coming out next summer that he'll tell you all about. So looking forward to having Ross as part of the show. And then we'll wind things up with another great friend, Matthew Lawrence. And you guys know how much I love Matthew. So that's a wonderful bonus segment that should be available a little bit later on in this week. I hope you come back and listen to that one as well. I want to thank our friends again over at the Pittsburgh Tribune Review for hosting this show on their site for coverage of everything going on in Western Pennsylvania, including your favorite sports. Go to triblive.com, and you can find this show by clicking on the sports section tab, and we're right there front and center for you on the homepage of the sports section. Or you could go to sports and then click on their podcast network. You'll then see the Next on the Tee logo. Click on that, and many of the episodes from this season are available for you right there. You can also find the show on Good Pods, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Player.fm. And as always, my sincere thanks to the great folks over at Good Pods for making this show one of their recommended podcasts. So please download their free app and stream your favorite podcast right there on your favorite device. But like I say each and every week, my sincere thanks go out to all of you for being the greatest supporters in the history of podcasts. I appreciate each and every one of you so very much. Merry Christmas, happy holidays to you and your families. Until next time, hit 'em straight, my friends.